Peace and blessings, soul family, back again with another one. This one's a little different though. This one's a little different. The heart is a little heavy. I'm keeping the buck with you. Over the weekend, I'm sure you've heard the news of Bishop Carlton Pearson making his transition. For those of you who know me, you know that I lived in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and had a chance as a little boy to go to higher dimensions for many years, which was the church that Bishop Pearson started. And so my heart is a little bit heavy, but also there's some levity and joy in it as well, because I've had a chance over the years to connect with Bishop Pearson and express my gratitude and my love and appreciation for him. But I'd be remiss if I didn't just take this space and to do it and just express my love and put it out there, because he played such an instrumental role in my life. I first met Bishop Pearson when I was a little boy. It was like 1988, 89. My mom took me and my brother to Blue Mountain Christian Retreat in Pennsylvania, and it was a revival. And I can tell you, as a little boy, I wasn't the biggest fan of revivals. There were long nights, and so I would get good sleep during the revivals. However, there was one particular night where Bishop Pearson, it was Pastor Pearson at the time, and I had never met him before and I never sat in the service with him, but between the singing and the charisma and the preaching and the shouting, I had never seen anything like that before. And so, needless to say, I didn't sleep during that service. I took it in, took all the vibes, all the energy in. And it was a beautiful experience. And what I didn't know at that time was that a year later, we would end up relocating to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and eventually becoming members of Higher Dimensions Family Church. And I could tell you that was one of the most important moments in my life. Just as a little boy, Bishop Pearson, to me and my brother, was like a father figure. We were used to going to a smaller family church in Pennsylvania. When we pulled up to Higher D, it was it was a huge church, but it was still a family church. Bishop had a way of making sure everyone felt loved. I mean, you had people from all walks of life, all ethnicities, all nationalities. In fact, in the church itself, there was flags all around the church, and even had a mural, go ye into all the world. And that inspired me to travel. I mean, you see all these different flags as you walk into the sanctuary, and then you're like, wow, what country is that from? And it's representative of the congregation. People from all over the world were part of the congregation, and when you walked in there, you felt love. It felt like you were just meeting different members of your family. And to this day, I still have relationships with some people. My man Q, I've known Q since I was in 4th or 5th grade. We met at Higher Dimensions. Here we are, call it 30 plus years later, still chopping it up. So Higher Dimensions, I mean, being able to be a part of that was just an incredible experience. I mean, any given Sunday, as they say, you would have, the who's who touchdown on the pulpit. And, I remember seeing, call it Miles Monroe was there. Almost felt like almost every Sunday. We'd have Archbishop Ashe. I remember actually I had a conversation with Bishop Pearson about one of the first services that we heard when we got to Tulsa was Archbishop Benson Idahosa from Nigeria. It was a beautiful service that he conducted. It was just a seminal moment for me, for my family, and for so many people. I remember years down the line, it's about 2005, I was in Chicago at a sales training. And I went to go speak to the sales rep from Oklahoma. And we got to talking about Tulsa, because I think he lived in that area. And we started talking about church, and he was telling me that he used to go to Higher D when he was a little kid. And come to find out that we used to go to Higher Dimensions at the same time in children's church with Sister Paula and Sister Mary and all of the beautiful people who helped take care of the kids at the church, man. I remember Brenda Todd's son, Michael Todd. I believe he has one of the largest churches in Oklahoma, and maybe even in the nation. Just a powerful ministry that he's doing. He was a little boy there. Like I said, it was my man Q. Q has an awesome production business. He learned his craft, his trade at higher dimensions. I remember there's a guy named Derek Thomas back in the day. He was a part of Children's Church, and he used to have this high box, this flat top. And, he was a tall kid, and come to find out later on, did really well at basketball. I believe he went to Booker T. Washington. I think they won the state title. Later he goes on and makes it to the NBA. He changed his name, Eton Thomas, but, he was one of the kids in Children's Church that was a part of, higher dimensions. And, it was such a beautiful space to grow up and be nurtured in as a kid. And like I said, I carried the lessons that I learned, and even the music that was there. I mean, Daryl Coley, Marvin Winans, Vanessa Bell Armstrong. I mean, you name it. They were there and creating such a sacred space for everybody to kind of just to be in and to learn and move with an open heart. And so, Bishop Pearson, following his vision, created a whole space for the mega churches that we see today. And for a lot of the, the bishops and the, the pastors who have a platform, a lot of those platforms were launched at higher dimensions. So I salute him for that. And I also, fast forward 2021, because I kept an eye. I always felt like I needed to be in contact in the flow. And then I was in college when he was going through, the gospel of inclusion. Me and my roommate at the time, actually a year before, flew out to Azusa, and had a chance to sit in on Azusa. And when we got back, and I think it's a year later, we heard all the craziness about the gospel inclusion, and people were calling him a heretic because he was talking about being more inclusive and loving. We didn't understand that. We didn't understand why he was being rejected and labeled a heretic for being more loving and including. I mean, we couldn't comprehend that. But through the years, we continued to just kept an eye on him, and just to be a part and figure out where he's moving and how he's moving. And so I think he started a thing on YouTube in Chicago, and I always tapped in on that. And then come Sunday on YouTube as well, and tapped in on that and tapped into the movie. And I always wanted to feel like I stayed connected to him, because just like I said, he's played such a seminal part in my life. And the way he was moving was, in fact, the way that my consciousness was expanding as well. And so going back to fast forward into 2021, I'm on this journey now, right? So I've been meditating for years and attending these, meditation retreats and understanding more different aspects of spirituality, exploring, different texts. And I decided to go to Costa Rica for an ayahuasca experience at Rhythmia Life Advancement Center. And so, mind you, 2021, this is in the summer, so we in the thick of the pandemic. I felt like I was kind of rolling the dice a little bit. I didn't know how that was going to play out, traveling internationally, but that's what was on my heart to do at that specific time. And so I pull up to Rhythmia in Costa Rica. It was an unbelievable experience. Right off the rip, I walk into the Maloka and I look to my right, and I see Martin Luther King III and his wife there. I was like, oh, we in for one. I see Reverend Michael Bernard Beckwith. He's there. I'm like, oh, this is special. And so, go through the ceremony. We're doing some breath work. And the next morning I wake up and I'm talking to one of the participants at the retreat. And she's sharing with me her background, that she grew up in a Pentecostal church. I believe she grew up in a Pentecostal church in Canada. And she was just telling me about, her experience as a kid. And of course, I was listening and I shared my experience. I said, yeah, I went to a Pentecostal church too, and in Tulsa, Oklahoma, higher dimensions, and it was a Bishop Carlton Pearson. I said, I hadn't seen him since I was a little boy. I said, but he's absolutely fantastic. I said, I haven't seen him, but yeah, you got to check him out, because she wasn't familiar with him. I get up from the table. I go to our first class to discuss plant medicine. And at this time, I'm sitting in the second row in the back. And I'm taking notes and I'm writing. And something in my spirit says to turn around. And so I decided, it sounds weird. Well, I'm going to turn around. I'm the second row in the back. There was nothing behind me but the wall and the door. So I was like, all right, cool. I'm just going to listen. And I turn around. And who is sitting behind me? None other than Bishop Carlton Pearson. I almost fell on the floor. I almost lost it. I was like, oh, this is something. I mean, I come all the way down to Costa Rica, and I run into Bishop Carlton Pearson. And so as after class was over, I had a chance to talk to him and, just express my gratitude and my appreciation and my love for him, and just let him know how much of a role and impact he played in my life. And it was so funny. The picture that you see on the thumbnail was the selfie that we took. And I sent that selfie to my man Q because I had told Q that I was going down to Costa Rica for the ayahuasca experience. And I shared that with Bishop as well. And, he and Bishop and Q are very close. And so they were both like, this is amazing. It was absolutely amazing. And Bishop made note that Q was one of the first to really understand what inclusion, the gospel of inclusion, was about. So he called my man Q a genius. And in return, Q said, that the bishop has, that he's done more in, I'm actually reading the quote. He says, tell CDP he has made 100 lifetimes worth of progress in one. I mean, to move in that manner, to go through that type of transformation, to being one of the most at the forefront of mega churches, and in some respects, even fundamentalism, fundamental Christianity, to now, you're in Costa Rica at an ayahuasca, retreat. That is a complete transformation. And, he did this in public. He did this in the open. It's not like he was we look at nature and we learn lessons where in nature you got a caterpillar and it goes into a chrysalis and it's kind of protected in that transformation stage. Nah, he was in the open doing this and moving and experiencing and expanding his consciousness. And I just observed it and I learned from it. I said, the courage to listen to the insights, to the downloads that he has. He didn't shrink. He didn't shrink away from it. In fact, he stood on it. He stood on it, and it cost him. It cost him the old life that he had. But I believe in standing on that. He birthed so many beautiful lessons, so many beautiful insights, and put wind in my sail and lifted so many other people. So it was a beautiful thing to witness. And I remember after that conversation, we go into ayahuasca ceremony, and I won't share what's happening in the Maloka. That's always, private business. But I can say for me, that particular night was the worst night of my life in ayahuasca. I mean, there were so many traumatic events that I encountered. I was kind of like in a malaise, just, healing from going through a tough ceremony. And that following day, I had a massage that was scheduled and ran into Bishop on the way to the massage, and we had a chance to chop it up. And one of the questions he asked me, he said, when you were a little boy and you were at Higher D, he said, did you feel the presence of God? Did you feel it? And I was like, absolutely. I said, it was the very first time that I've experienced the presence of God it was a Sunday night service. I don't even know if we had a special preacher. I think Bishop preached that night. And it was a powerful service. And we went home, and then next morning, I always got up first to catch the bus to school. And I walked into the bathroom, and there was just this unbelievable presence. And I'm telling this to Bishop. I said, there's this unbelievable presence of love that was surrounding me. And keep in mind, I'm only maybe 10 years old. But the experience was so powerful that it left an indelible mark on my memory, where I'll always remember the sensation, remember the feeling of just being enveloped in a field of just absolute love. And that's exactly what I needed at that time, because, when we had moved to Tulsa, it was my parents going through a divorce. So I was in the sense of maybe a sense of grieving, right? Grieving the loss of relationships, or loss of familiarity and comfort, and needing a sense of love and safety and security. And so to sit in that environment, as a result for me of having my heart open in service and just feeling loved, something that I would never forget. And I had a chance to share that with him, and he was appreciative of that. And, we shared some laughs as well. I remember being in ayahuasca ceremony, and, one of the things with ayahuasca that you're going to do is you're going to purge. And Bishop Pearson used to always talk about the song about the old mothers in church where they didn't want to be purged. Even Lord, don't purge me, don't purge me. And I shared that. We shared a laugh about that because I know I was in there purging. It was going down, so I could say don't purge me all I wanted, but it was going to happen, and it did happen, and grateful for it. But it was good to share that laugh with him. It was good to share that space with him. It was just so nourishing to be able to express my gratitude for him because he's such a beautiful being, and I'm just absolutely grateful for the impact he's had, not just on my life, but on the lives of many people. So, Bishop, thank you. To your family, thank you for sharing such a beautiful gift with us. My life has forever been changed, and I remain forever grateful for his sacred yes and for the work he's done here on this planet that continues to unfold as well. So, to that, I give thanks. Give thanks. I give thanks. Rest in the loving arms of the eternal. And it's all good. Peace and blessings, family. I thank you for allowing me to just express these sentiments, and I hope it made sense. I'm still processing and going through a sense of grieving as well. So maybe a little cluttered and all over the place, but thank you for that space to just share and express my feelings. I love y'all, and I'll catch you on another one. Ashe.